Top 10 Poorest Countries in Africa. Hello viewers, if you are new to our channel, please subscribe so that you can enjoy our video which we post every day. Number 10. Madagascar. Located 400 kilometers off the coast of East Africa, Madagascar is the fourth largest island in the world. Known for its astonishing wildlife, the flourishing tourism industry has not been able to lift the country out of poverty. The majority of the population is still dependent upon agriculture for their livelihoods, leaving the country's economy especially vulnerable to weather-related disasters. Since becoming independent from France in 1960, Madagascar has experienced bouts of political instability, violent coups and disputed elections. Madagascar has got the population of 28 million people, and the capital city of Madagascar is called Antananarivo. Number 9. Liberia. Africa's oldest republic has also ranked amongst the poorest nations for the longest time. While the country has enjoyed peace and stability since the ending of the Civil War in 2003, its governments failed to adequately address serious systemic problems and structural challenges. To add to the difficulties, this country of about 5 million has greatly suffered from the decline in commodity prices and the major Ebola epidemic that hit West Africa in 2014. Expectations were high when the former football star George Weah became president in 2018. His term was instead marred by high inflation and unemployment and negative economic growth. Although a moderate recovery is now projected, COVID-19 is bound to cast a long shadow on the nation's prospects. Number 8. Mozambique. The former Portuguese colony has plenty of arable land and water, and ample energy and mineral resources. Mozambique is also strategically located as 4 of the 6 countries it borders are landlocked and depend on it as a conduit to global trade, and over the past 10 years has often posted average GDP growth rates of more than 7%. Yet, it remains among the top 10 poorest countries in the world, with large sectors of the population continuing to live well below the poverty line. While a 15-year-long civil war ended in 1992, severe climate conditions, corruption and political instability never went away. To make things worse, since 2017 attacks carried out by Islamic insurgent groups have plagued the gas-rich northern part of the country. Over 4,000 people were killed and another 600,000 displaced. This southern Africa country has got the population of 32 million people, and the capital city of Mozambique is called Maputo. Number 7. Niger. With 80% of its landlocked territory covered by the Sahara Desert and a rapidly growing population largely dependent upon small-scale agriculture, Niger is under threat from desertification and climate change. Food insecurity is high, as are disease and mortality rates, and the army's recurrent clashes with jihadist group and Islamic State (ISIS) affiliate Boko Haram have displaced thousands of people. One of the main drivers of the economy, the extraction of valuable natural resources such as gold and uranium, has also suffered from volatility and low commodity prices. Nevertheless, the largest nation in West Africa seems to have finally entered a new political and economic transition phase. Racked by military coups since its independence from France in 1960. This West Africa country has got the population of 25 million people, and the capital city of Niger is Niamey. Number 6. The Democratic Republic of Congo (DRC). Since gaining independence from Belgium in 1960, the Congo has suffered decades of rapacious dictatorship, political instability and constant violence. The country turned a page in 2019, when Félix-Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo, the son of legendary opposition leader Etienne Tshisekedi, was elected as the new president. The tasks he faces are daunting. His controversial predecessor Joseph Kabila, who had governed since succeeding his assassinated father in 2001, is credited for bringing an end to what is commonly referred to as the Great African War, a conflict that claimed up to 6 million lives, either as a direct result of fighting or because of disease and malnutrition. However, he did little to improve the lives of people who survived the war. Over 60% of the country's 92 million population still live on less than $2 a day. With 80 million hectares of arable land, over 1,000 minerals and valuable metals under its surface and a citizen median age of just 17, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the World Bank says, has the potential to become one of the richest African nations and a driver of growth for the entire continent. Political instability, endemic corruption and now the coronavirus pandemic continue to frustrate that potential. Adding to these factors, new cases of Ebola resurfaced in the northeast of the country last February, less than a year after another outbreak claimed the lives of more than 2,000 people. Democratic Republic of Congo has got the total population of 92 million people, and the capital city of this country is called Kinshasa. Number 5, Malawi. One of Africa's smallest nations, in recent years Malawi has made strides in improving economic growth and implementing crucial structural reforms. Nevertheless, poverty is still widespread, and the nation's economy, largely dependent upon rain-fed crops, remains vulnerable to weather-related shocks. As a result, while living standards in urban areas are broadly improving, food insecurity in rural parts is extremely high. Malawi is a generally peaceful country that has had stable governments since gaining independence from Britain in 1964. However, disputed poll results are far from being an anomaly. In 2020, the country's constitutional court annulled former President Peter Mutharika's poll win in the previous year's general elections citing vote tampering. Theologian and politician Lazarus Chakwera, who was sworn in his place, declared that he wanted to provide the kind of leadership that makes everybody prosper. The pandemic put that plan on hold. Last year, the country's GDP dropped to 0.6% from 4.5% a year. The total population of Malawi is 20 million people, and capital city of Malawi is called Lilongwe. Number 4, Central Africa Republic. Rich in gold, oil, uranium and diamonds, the Central African Republic is a very wealthy country inhabited by very poor people. However, after claiming the title of the poorest in the world for the best part of the decade, this nation of just 4.75 million is showing some signs of progress. For the first time since its independence from France in 1960, in 2016 the Central African Republic has democratically elected a president, former mathematics professor and Prime Minister Faustin Archange Touadéra, who campaigned as a peacemaker who could bridge the divide between the Muslim minority and the Christian majority. Yet, while his successful election has been seen as an important step towards national reconstruction, large swaths of the country remain controlled by anti-government and militia groups. When, last December, Touadéra won a second term, rebel forces backed by the former dictator François Bozizé sought to retake control of the country. Despite these problems and incidents, in recent years growth has somewhat picked up, driven by the timber industry and a revival of both agricultural and mining sectors. The economy is also benefiting from the partially resumed sale of diamonds, which were found to be funding inter-religious armed groups and placed under international embargo in 2013. Yet, the government has struggled to restore sales and has seen only a fraction of the revenues it once did, and roughly 70% of the population still live below. Number 3. Somalia. 3 decades of internal violence and conflict, frequent droughts and floods followed by food insecurity and displacement of people, lack of access to health services coupled with the rapid spread of communicable diseases, massive levels of unemployment among especially young people, Somalis are growing hopeless. This country of 16 million on the Horn of Africa never seems to catch a break. A projected GDP growth of over 3% in 2020 was interrupted by the compounded effect of the coronavirus pandemic, an infestation of locusts unprecedented in modern times and intensified floods, which caused the economy to contract by 1.5%. Yet, the World Bank says, Somalia could have a brighter future. Rapid urbanization, growing use of digital technologies, planned investments in sectors such as energy, ports, education and health can support economic growth and job creation. A tenuous recovery is already underway, and the government has pledged its commitment to charting a course toward better resilience and growth. About that government, in April this year, Somalia's parliament voted to extend President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed's 4-year term, which had expired 2 months earlier, for a further 2 years. The power grab triggered a political crisis and rival factions clashed in the capital Mogadishu. Ultimately, Mohamed bowed to the growing opposition and called for a new presidential election. Yet, experts say, there is still room for trouble. This country have got total population of 16 million people, and the capital city of Somalia is called Mogadishu. Number 2. South Sudan. South Sudan is the newest nation in the world. It was born on July 9, 2011, 6 years after the agreement that ended the conflict with Sudan, Africa's longest-running civil war. However, violence has continued to ravage this landlocked state of roughly 11 million. Formed by the 10 southernmost territories of Sudan and home to around 60 indigenous ethnic groups, a new conflict broke out in 2013 when President Salva Kiir accused his former deputy, rebel leader Riek Machar, of staging a coup. As a result, it is estimated that as many 400,000 people were killed in clashes and nearly 4 million have been internally displaced or fled to neighboring countries. South Sudan could be a very rich nation, but with oil accounting for almost all of its exports, falling commodity prices and rising security-related costs hammered the country's economy. Outside the oil sector, the majority of the population is employed in traditional agriculture, although violence often prevents farmers from planting or harvesting crops. South Sudan have got the total population of 12 million people, and the capital city of Sudan is called Juba. Number 1. Burundi. The small landlocked country of Burundi, scarred by Hutu-Tutsi ethnic conflict and civil war, has the rather unenviable distinction of topping the world's poverty ranking. With about 90% of its nearly 12 million citizens relying on subsistence agriculture, and the overwhelming majority of them living on $1.25 a day or less, food scarcity is a major concern. The level of food insecurity is almost twice as high as the average for sub-Saharan African countries. Furthermore, access to water and sanitation remains very low, and less than 5% of the population has electricity. All these problems, needless to say, have been exacerbated by the pandemic. How have things come to this, despite the civil war formally ending 15 years ago? Lack of infrastructure, endemic corruption, security concerns, the ingredients leading to extreme poverty are often the usual suspects. Pierre Nkurunziza, the charismatic former Hutu rebel turned president in 2005, had initially managed to unite the country behind him and to start rebuilding the economy. In 2015, however, the announcement that he would run for a third term, which according to the opposition was in violation of the constitution, reignited old disputes. A failed coup attempt followed, hundreds of people died in clashes and tens of thousands were displaced internally or abroad. This poorest country in Africa has got the total population of 12 million, and the capital city of Burundi is called Gitega. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss our next episode.